We are near the start of Oklahoma's next legislative session, which begins on Monday. One of the things I'm looking at this session is whether or not the legislature will grant Superintendent Ryan Walters the millions he wants to use to supply classrooms across the Sooner State with Bibles. I sat down with an attorney from the Freedom from Religion Foundation when the Bible mandate was originally handed down back in 2024. And here's what he had to say when the topic of the separation of church and state was brought up in terms of Ryan Walters not believing in it.
Our Constitution has broad wording. That wording is interpreted by the courts, and that's how we get our law. So, for example, the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, doesn't say anything about bump stocks and requiring that you have to be allowed to have a bump stock. But the Supreme Court has now said that that's what the Constitution says. So the separation of church and state, right, that exact wording is not in the Constitution. But what the courts have done is they said, okay, what does this Establishment Clause mean? We've got religious freedom, but we also, the government cannot establish a religion. And we've had to define what those parameters are. Now, it's just not going to be a very powerful part of the Constitution if it literally just means, well, the government can't establish a religion. So as long as the government doesn't say, we are declaring America a Christian nation, anything else is fine. We can require that Christianity be taught in schools, that everyone be a Christian and sort of push Christianity around everywhere. It certainly wouldn't be a very good constitutional principle if it was just meant to be that narrow. And so what happens over time is the courts develop case law and kind of determine the parameters and kind of figure out what's the best way we can do this. Like, and in particular with the Establishment Clause and the religious freedom clauses, they've had to kind of carve out, like, how do we ensure that people do have religious freedom rights, but also the government shouldn't take a position on religion. And really, those things aren't actually as in conflict as people like Walters and other Christian nationalists would have you believe. The reason why they think there's a big conflict between the Establishment Clause and religious freedom is that they want to use the government to impose their religion and to advance Christianity.